Welcome to Self-Care Tips. I am Irene Joroge, and today we're going shopping. Beauty shopping, something that every woman enjoys. Beauty shopping is the ultimate in self-care. You need to get the right products, you need to know where to buy what, and you need to get the best services. Your beauty shopping experience should be one that inspires you. We have Naomi, who is in charge of customer care in skincare. Hi Naomi.
How are you?
I wanted you to tell me, why is it important for you to find out a lot about the client before they buy anything, or before you can recommend, or before they pick something?
So basically this helps me to understand the skincare and what the products I'm going to give the customer, because we want to inspire beauty inside and outside. So when you're buying a product, you have to know your skin type. Is it oily? Is it dry? Is it normal? What you're going to do, are you going to do the soaps? Are you going to do the washes, the toners, and the skin routines? So that can be able to complement your lifestyle. At the same time, it will help you to even shop more.
So you mean the client's lifestyle is really important to the final outcome when they buy a product?
Definitely it is, because if you don't have a good skin routine, you cannot be able to know your products or what you're going to use. So we normally recommend, if you don't know your skin type, we do a quick visual look at your skin. Is it oily? Is it dry? Is your skin uneven? What are you using on your skin? So that when you choose a product, we'll be able to know your skin type.
And what are some of the most common challenges that you face that people have when you're here? Because you're always on the floor every day. What are some of the things that you find that the clients, the challenges people have?
When a customer comes, we basically ask them, what is your skin type? What is your skin routine? What do you use? But the funny thing, we find others, they say their skins are oily. They don't know their skin types, and others, they use bar soaps. So we try and take a journey through and to recommend them to use products which are suitable for their skins.
So you mean this issue of people using the incorrect products is very common?
Definitely it is, because most of them, like 90% of our customers, they don't know the product, and then also they don't know the ranges of the product. So they basically say, if I have breakouts or my skin is dry, I'm going to use this and this because my friend told me this is good. But we tell them, you have to know your skin type, so that when you're buying a product, you'll be comfortable using the product, and don't use soaps or detergent soaps, because they are meant to remove oils in laundry or in utensils.
Thanks a lot, Naomi, for that interesting information. I am now more enlightened. Beauty shopping, your experience should help you get the best and make the most of the products that you're going to use. This has been Self-Care Tips. I am Irene Joroge.
My name is Muhammad Ahmed Muhammad, the CEO of Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation, popularly known as KDIC. The corporation recently increased the protected sum from the previous 100,000 shillings to 500,000 shillings per account. This is the highest in sub-Saharan Africa. In effect, the corporation now covers 99% of the depositors in the unlikely event of a closure of a bank. So KDIC encourages the depositors to continue doing business with our banks that are strong and resilient.
Be sure, check out for a KDIC sticker in your banking hall. KDIC, protecting your deposits.
The Office of the Registrar of Political Parties, in partnership with eCitizen, brings you a self-service platform for management of political parties membership. At the click of a button, you can now check the political party you are registered in as a member, resign from a political party, or join a political party of choice. Simply log into your eCitizen account, select your preferred service, fill in the details, then submit. You will receive a system acknowledgement of your request, and an eCitizen system notification will be issued once the processing is complete. ORPP is committed to serve you to promote political rights in a democratic multi-party system. For more information, visit www.orpp.or.ke or engage us using our handles at ORPP Kenya across social media platforms. Your party, your choice.
Good evening, welcome to Prime Edition. I am Cynthia Nyamai. Now tonight we have the latest on the committee prison break, and also we will tell you a little bit more about the US Secretary. What meetings has he had and what are some of the details of this meeting? And in business, Tech One is becoming very popular. Today we talk about technology and women, and in sports, Munga has the stories for you. But first, let's have the highlights.
Our manhunt, we were able to get the 3 inmates within the border of Tana River and Mwingi. They were deep in the bush.
Long arm of the law. 3 escapee terror convicts airlifted back to the committee maximum prison.
It has been observed that perhaps judicial officers are preaching water but drinking wine, demanding of others standards that they are not willing to apply to themselves.
Put your house in order. President Uhuru Kenyatta challenges judiciary to tackle corruption within its ranks.
Kenya negotiated successfully for a third of that, 20,000 nurses, which we signed in July.
Greener pastures. 20,000 nurses to work in the United Kingdom in a new deal sealed with Kenyan government. We start with a story that we have been following up for you since Sunday. 3 convicted terrorists who escaped from Committee Maximum Prison on Sunday night have been recaptured. The 3 were nabbed by police in Nzao along Kitui-Tana River border after locals alerted the police. They are believed to have been on their way to Somalia.
Joseph Juma Othiambo, Mohammed Ali Abikar and Musharraf Abdallah were found walking on foot like any other local after escaping from lawful custody on Monday. Though it is yet to be established how the trio got to Nzao in Mwingi, they are said to have inquired from locals the easiest way to get to Garissa at the Kitui-Tana River border. Locals alerted police about the presence of the 3, with officers from the DCI and the Anti-Terrorism Police Unit pouncing on the trio. Around 4:15, the 3 convicts, a border police chopper, landed at the committee maximum prison under heavy security. And one by one taken to a police vehicle that was on standby. Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i, who witnessed their return to committee, revealed that the DCI has commenced investigations into the lapses that led to the escape of the 3 convicts. Already, the escape has cost former prison boss Wycliffe Ogala his job after being fired by President Uhuru Kenyatta, while 9 officers are in police custody and were arraigned in court Thursday for acts of omission.
The real work begins. What happened here on Monday was a very rude awakening that there are certain lapses that we need to deal with. We have spent the last 3 days working on, how to deal with some of those challenges. And I pray to God that we never get here as a country, because the level of anxiety the country got into was unnecessary because of the lapses that were here.
The CS, however, did not reveal who would benefit from the 60 million bounty placed on the heads of the 3.
We are not going there at the moment. Let's be speculative about this. We are going to work on this meticulously, as my colleagues have said.
Matiang'i, in the meantime, called on Kenyans to be vigilant following the insecurity being witnessed in the region.
We are in an unusual space because of what's happening around us. We have challenges. Please let us be very careful and let's be watchful. This is the time to maintain a lot of care in the things that we do.
I want to take this opportunity and thank Kenyans for the information they have shared, which has led to this success. And I want to appeal the same spirit to Kenyans. We keep vigil, we keep alertness, and whatever you get of security importance, we work together.
John Jacob Curia, Prime Edition.
Well, beyond the 60 million, we are grateful for the locals in Kitui who were vigilant and made that report to the police. Now, moving on, President Uhuru Kenyatta has called on the judiciary to slay the dragon of corruption and stop running away from accountability by insulting itself with court orders. In a speech delivered by Attorney General Kihara Kariuki, the head of state said no institution should shield itself from being held accountable by the people of Kenya.
President Uhuru Kenyatta wants the judiciary to stand to be counted and led by accountability instead of using courts to cushion itself from being scrutinized. In a speech delivered by the Attorney General Kihara Kariuki on the 9th State of the Judiciary and the Administration of Justice report launch, the President called on the judiciary to deal with the corruption within its ranks.
It has been observed that perhaps judicial officers are preaching water but drinking wine, demanding of others standards that they are not willing to apply to themselves.
The President wondered how the judiciary will help the country deal with the elephant that is corruption in the country when itself is muddied in the same vice.
This is not what the people of Kenya signed up for as they voted in their millions for our new constitution. They expressly stated that they wanted a transparent and accountable government.
Ready to deal with the problems that Kenyans encounter that require resolutions, there must be a shift in how state institutions engage.
Key in the judicial report was that out of the 649,112 cases that were pending at the end of the year under review, 375,671 cases had surpassed the one-year resolution timeline and consequently were classified as backlog. Some of the significant milestones achieved in enhancing access to justice include operationalization of the small claims court, where 362,044,601 million shillings worth of cases has been processed in less than 6 months. The 2020-2021 report revealed that Nairobi County had the highest average of filed cases, amounting to 64,111, followed by Nakuru, Kiambu, Mombasa, Machakos, Kisumu, Meru, Murang'a, Nyeri, Uasin Gishu, Kisii, and Kakamega, which were all above the national average. For the financial year 2020-2021, the judiciary required 37.14 billion shillings, but was instead allocated 17.13 billion shillings, leaving it with an overall deficit of 54%. Therefore, it continues to call on the national government to increase funding to the judiciary so that it can optimize operations. Serafina Robi for Prime Edition.
Thank you, Serafina, for that report. My apologies, I did say insulting instead of insulating. But moving on now to the scales of justice. The High Court has sentenced the Director of Criminal Investigation, George Kinoti, to 4 months at the Committee Maximum Prison for contempt of court. The disciples failed to obey a court order issued in June 2019 directing him to return ODM presidential aspirant Jimmy Wangigi's firearms that had earlier been confiscated.
The Director of Criminal Investigations, George Kinoti, now has 7 days to surrender to the Committee Maximum Prison after High Court Judge Anthony Murima sentenced him to 4 months in prison for contempt of court. This results from failure of the DCI to return Tycoon Jimmy Wangigi's firearms as ordered in 2019. Jimmy Wanjigi celebrated the sentencing, saying no one is above the law.
I want to say categorically here, we are very happy with that ruling of the High Court. There is nobody who is above the law. The rule of law must be applied equally to every single Kenyan. So when he's out of office, whoever is next must obey those court orders. And if they don't, they understand what future lies ahead for them. Court orders. And they are applicable to all of us.
Meanwhile, 2 boys from Kisiriri Mixed Secondary School have been released on a bond of 500,000 Kenyan shillings each by the Narok Magistrate Court after they were accused of damaging the school property. The two had been charged on 2 counts of arson and malicious damage of property in Mount Kenya dormitory that belongs to the school. The fire that occurred on October the 6th, 2021 is estimated to have caused damage to property amounting to 3 million Kenyan shillings. Finally, a Kakamega court has issued an order preventing Kakamega High School from charging parents 9,900 shillings each to build a new dormitory which was set ablaze. High Court Judge William Musyoka granted the order sought by parent Boaz Vida. The hearing is set for the 30th of November this year. Serafina Robi for Prime Edition.
Now, the government is set to deploy 20,000 nurses to work in the United Kingdom under the bilateral labour deal signed between Kenya and the United Kingdom in the next 6 years. Labour Cabinet Secretary Simon Chelgei says that so far 4,500 applications have been received, out of whom 2,500 were approved, pending final processes, while 600 were disqualified for various reasons. The deal is, however, not open to nurses already serving under a 3-year contract in Kenya.
Under the labour agreement between Kenya and the United Kingdom, Kenya is expected to deploy 20,000 nurses to the UK for a period of 2 terms of 3 years each. The deal will see each nurse paid over 321,000 Kenya shillings per month.
We have a control system of moving nurses from Kenya to UK, with a very conscious consideration of our medical. So those who are handling very technical and where we have shortage, we will not allow migration.
If you talk about midwifery, these people can be able to work there. When you talk about intensive care nursing, they are trained to do that. When you talk about general nursing, they are trained to be able to do that. And that is why they are being sought all over.
So far, the National Employment Authority has received 4,500 applications. The Labour CS noting that the nurses were currently undertaking examinations on various fields, with competence in English being a mandatory requirement.
Good communication means approaching every patient, interacting with a good intention to understand the patient concerns, experience, and opinions, verbal and non-verbal.
This coming amid claims of nurses unable to pass English tests, with the CS saying such candidates would be offered another chance to undertake the exams. Before travelling abroad, the qualified nurses will be required to undertake a mandatory pre-departure training to prepare them on what to expect once in the UK.
Usiende huko kwa wazungu unavaa longi nyeupe, unavaa shati nyekundu na koti nyeusi, nywele mrefu, meno hujasafisha, mara unatema mate barabarani, unaenda ukipika mpicha huko mabarabara, unaruka barabara mataa huko. Hiyo tabia ni ya hapa.
The CS said the deal will shield non-accredited agencies from engaging in the recruitment drive. Nancy Okwari, Prime Edition.
Now, moving on now, United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken has called for concerted efforts by countries across the globe to develop and enforce strong national action plans to address plastic pollution. Speaking in Nairobi after holding bilateral talks with Executive Director of the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, Inga Anderson, the U.S. Secretary of State, while calling for innovative approaches in stopping plastic pollution, warned that as a result of plastic pollution, marine and human health is under threat. Ben Chumba reports.
United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken continued with his 3-nation Africa tour by visiting the United Nations Environment Program in Nairobi, where he joined campaigns against plastic pollution.
It's estimated that we add between 8 and 14 million tons of plastic pollution to the ocean every single year. That's about 1 truckload dumped in the sea every minute of every day.
Kenya among countries who have expressed commitment in the fight against plastic pollution by limiting single-use plastics and signing the Clean Seas Initiative. The U.S. Secretary of State called for more intensive efforts by countries across the globe to protect the oceans against plastic pollution.
Much of the plastic at sea is broken down into tiny pieces that sea animals eat. These microplastics can tear apart animals' organs, clog their intestines, and they're full, causing them to starve to death.
While lauding efforts by young Kenyan entrepreneurs who are recycling plastic waste, Blinken said the U.S. government continues to invest millions of dollars in research to make leads in areas such as developing new plastics that are recyclable by design.
Then we segregate the plastic, we collect the plastic, we send it for recycling, and we get plastic flakes. 90% of the plastic flakes are sold, 10% are going into our research project. It's 2 months old. We're researching how to make plastic pavement blocks.
Executive Director of the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, Inga Anderson, said Kenya will host the United Nations Environment Assembly in February 2022, where 193 member states will meet to set priorities for global environmental policies and develop international environmental law.
We must recognize that the work that member states are leading on plastic pollution has the potential to be a turning point. Meaningful action on pollution will require us to journey beyond our comfort zones.
A lot of social entrepreneurs and CBOs and NGOs need to collectively collaborate to make sure that the plastic pollution is actually reduced.
And now to politics, where Deputy President William Ruto has dared Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i and PS Karanja Kibicho to resign following the recent security lapse at the Committee Maximum Security Prison. Ruto, in his campaign trail in Embu County, claimed the two top government officials were preoccupied with playing politics at the expense of the country's security.
DP Ruto, while making stopovers at various towns and market joints as part of his campaign trail in Embu County, turned the heat on the top leadership of Interior Docket, calling for the resignation of CS Matiang'i and PS Kibicho.
Haya mambo ya usalama yanazidi na kudidimia. Wale wote waliopatiwa majukumu na rais watekeleze jukumu zao kulinda maisha na mali ya Wakenya.
DP Ruto said issues of security had continued to deteriorate as those charged with keeping the country safe kept sleeping on the job. The Deputy President urged the duo to focus on their mandate instead of engaging in politics.
Tukisikia ya kwamba magaidi wametoroka kutoka korokoroni, hiyo ni jambo la aibu katika taifa letu la Kenya. Wale wanaohusika na mambo ya usalama, they should take their responsibilities seriously.
During the campaign of the Interior Docket,
Uhuru Kenyatta ana kazi kubwa sana ya kufanya, kwa sababu hivi sasa wale ambao amewategemea kuangalia usalama wa raia, kuangalia usalama wa nchi, hawa wote wameacha hiyo kazi na wako nje kufanya siasa.
Kama magaidi watatu wanaweza potea katika maximum prison ya Kenya, hiyo inamaanisha sisi wa Kenya tuko katika hatarini tukiendelea na hii serikali.
The DP at the same time rallied area residents to back his presidential candidature, which is pegged on the bottom-up economic model.
Wafanyabiashara wote Kenya ni wafanyabiashara hawa wadogo wadogo. Mwaka ujao tunaweka pesa ya serikali bilioni 50 kwa biashara ya hawa watu wadogo wadogo, ili wazizamishwe ndani ya CRB waweze kufanya biashara zao, kwa sababu watapata pesa ya serikali.
footage, I can show you, Your Excellency. Thank you.
It's 9 months to the election. If we continue with this political heat, it's going to affect us. So ningeomba, because we respect the deputy president, honestly. I have worked in his office, I respect him highly. And I want to continue respecting him. But tafadhali na yeye awachane na Nyoro.
Well, we apologize for that slight hitch. We will be taking a short break, but when we come back, I will be telling you more about a meeting that ODM leader Raila Odinga had with women and what he promised them. That and more coming up shortly.
It will be my duty to uphold the dignity and the honor of this House, to uphold your individual rights, and above all, to enforce strict compliance with the standing orders of this House in a completely impartial manner. Honorable members, given the heavy responsibilities you have placed on my shoulders, it is my sincere hope and prayer that I count upon the support and friendship of all members, and not just those who have just elected me. For only such cooperation will ensure the success of this august House.
The Kenya Medical Training College will hold its 90th graduation ceremony on December 2nd, 2021 at KMTC Graduation Square, Nairobi from 10 a.m. A mandatory graduation fee of 2,500 Kenya shilling is payable on or before 30th November 2021 to National Bank via the details on your screen. Adorning graduation gown will be optional, and graduates wishing to get one can visit KMTC headquarters in Nairobi from 15th to 29th November 2021. Join the event on the KMTC YouTube channel at KMTC Official. Visit www.kmtc.ac.ke for more information on the graduation, training programs, and application procedure. KMTC, training for better health.
Welcome back. Now, ODM leader Raila Odinga has pledged to support and stand with women should he clinch power in the 2022 general election. Speaking when he met a section of women allied to the Orange Democratic Movement at the Catholic University, the former Prime Minister promised the women, and here are the details.
The former Prime Minister met with a section of women allied to the ODM party under the Azimio la Kina Mama agenda. The women are raising a number of issues they would like addressed should the party ascend to power next year.
Baba, ukitu address leo, please address how you are going to empower women, empower young people, empower families.
The ODM leader promised to empower the women by ensuring that the 2/3 gender role is achieved.
The first revolution brought independence. The second one brought new constitution. The third and the last one is an economic revolution.
The women on their part promised to walk the talk in mobilizing numbers for Odinga's 2022 presidential bid.
Wale warembo kutoka mountain kule pia wako hapa. Wale wa university wako hapa. Na sisi wajumbe ambao tuko ngari kidete na baba Raila Amolo Odinga tuko chonjo. Sisi ndio majembe ya kazi kwa baba Raila Amolo Odinga.
tarehe 9 mwezi wa 8 2022. Na mama, tafadhali ufungue hiyo gate yote ya State House kwa sababu tutaingia huko.
Because of the sacrifices you have made to this country, my opinion is that it's only fair that I ask Kenyans to reciprocate by giving you a chance to transform this country and take it to the next level as the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya.
Industrialization is a must, because industries will provide meaningful jobs for our youth. Corruption also in the revenue collection. Corruption generally is too high in this country. And that is what is scaring away investors from coming to invest in the country and the past infrastructure. So we must address this animal called corruption, bureaucracy, and so on head on.
Yusuf Far reporting for Prime Edition.
Thank you, Yusuf, for that report. Now to the COVID latest numbers, where Kenya's COVID-19 positivity rate on Thursday slightly rose to 1.9% after 88 people tested positive from 4,681 samples tested in the last 24 hours. Total confirmed positive cases are now 254,541. Cumulative tests conducted so far are over 2.79 million. No death was reported in the country according to the latest data from the Ministry of Health. As at November 17, 2021, over 6.25 million vaccines had been administered across the country. Meanwhile, statistics from the Johns Hopkins University indicate that globally over 254 million people have tested positive, while more than 5.1 million have died from COVID-19 diseases. Now, the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Public Service, Gender, Senior Citizens Affairs and Special Program, Professor Margaret Kobia, has expressed the government's commitment to cushion vulnerable households from starvation through the cash transfer model. More of this in our News Country Wrap.
Professor Kobia, who was on a fact-finding mission in Isiolo over the drought situation in the area, noted that the cash transfer intervention, whose first disbursement, scheduled for this December, is aimed at ensuring beneficiaries can purchase the necessary food as per their need.
The cash transfer model that has been used by the World Food Program, I'm going to witness it today, and as we move to December, where the government is going to do a large-scale cash transfer to all people affected by drought, then we have lessons learned, and I'm sure we are going to do it much, much better.
Elsewhere, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Noordin Haji, has defended his office against critics, saying he will continue to discharge his mandate in accordance with the Constitution. Speaking in Mombasa during a meeting with the Kenya Editors Guild, Haji said his office operates within the Constitution and therefore he will not be cowed.
So those who are trying to challenge us in court for this meeting, they should refer to the Constitution. That allows us to have such a meeting.
Meanwhile, dozens of structures built on land belonging to the Kenya Power Company in Thika have been demolished. Locals watched helplessly as bulldozers tore down their structures early Thursday morning.
Serikali itoshanisho ya matajiri na maskini. Kama saa hii kuna sisi watu wa Frame 3 tumebomolewa, saidi ya Kisii hakuna mahali pameguzwa na kumejengwa magorofa.
Residents of Lansen village in Samburu North have a reason to smile after a borehole that was sunk by Samburu County government became operational. Samburu County Chief Officer of Water Sam Nakope said the number one priority of the county government to the area was provision of water. This even as Siaya County government says it is in talks with the national government over the construction of a bridge that will connect Alego, Usonga and Ugenya sub-counties at Kalkada.
So there is Kalkada, Ugenya Bridge across River Nzoia, which is in the pipeline. Of course, I remember you also sent me to Nairobi, and the national government, they are willing to put up that at over 500 million.
So that is going on.
Finally, a justice lobby group, Wazalendo Huru, has faulted the judiciary for what it termed as nurturing corruption within. The group revisited the Akasha drug case, which they say has seen 2 local judges named for extradition in connection to the Akasha's dealings.
It is now an open secret that there are 2 different laws in our country, Kenya. One for the rich who can afford to pay and buy their freedom or even justice, and another law for the poor who are now at the mercy of the rich and rogue judges who accept cash and other bribes in exchange for rulings that openly defy common sense and cause untold suffering for thousands of Kenyans whose last hope for justice has disappeared into darkness.
Reporting for Prime Edition, I'm Wamboi Otiende.
The Office of the Registrar of Political Parties, in partnership with eCitizen, brings you a self-service platform for management of political parties membership.
There are whispers of a Hebrew with great strength.
Who's this God who gives you such strength?
3 vows were bestowed upon me. No wine, no touching the dead, no cutting of my hair.
For more information, visit www.orpp.or.ke or engage us using our handles at ORPP Kenya across social media platforms. Your party, your choice.
Hi guys, welcome to our channel. Adori, it's a motherhood. Actually, what's going on?
Welcome back, and now to business. Sugarcane farmers have started enjoying better prices for their commodity after the Sugarcane Pricing Committee increased the cost of cane more than 4,000 shillings per metric ton. The new price is 279 shillings, more than the 3,833 shillings that millers have been paying farmers since October.
Sugar production between January to October 2021 was 577,807 tons compared to 514,727 tons produced in the same period last year, indicating a 12% increase. The increase in output has been attributed to, among others, favorable weather conditions and improved cane prices. Having considered the prevailing ex-factory sugar prices over the last 3 months, that is August to October 2021, and the current upward trend in the price of sugar, the Sugarcane Pricing Committee resolved to base the cane pricing on the average ex-factory sugar price of 4,770 shillings per 50 kg bag for October 2021. The committee therefore approved an increase in the price of cane from the current 3,833 shillings per ton to 4,112 shillings per ton effective November 18th. This move is however likely to drive up the cost of production of local sugar that would further dim the competitive edge of local factories against cheap sugar imports. In a statement, the Ministry of Agriculture directs the millers to adhere to the new prices while making payments to farmers. Any farmer being paid less should report to the Agriculture and Food Authority for redress. Regina Manyara reporting for Prime Edition.
Now, the National Assembly's Committee on Trade and Industry is probing how 139 40-feet containers of edible oil from Malaysia were sneaked out of the private sector container freight station in Mombasa. The 139 containers of cooking edible oil were intercepted in 2019 after Kenya Revenue Authority, KRA, Kenya Bureau of Standards, KEBS, and other government agencies raised a red flag on the basis that the consignment was not fit for human consumption.
Committee on Trade and Industry, chaired by Mandera South MP Adan Haji Ali, toured the facility after it emerged that 88 out of 139 containers had been released. The committee chair called upon the DCI to speed up the investigations to unravel how the condemned oil ended up in the local market and prosecute the culprits behind the theft syndicate.
53 containers have been stolen. They are gone.
Of oil that was condemned?
That was condemned. And sadly, they must have been converted to the local market. We are told that DCI is carrying out investigation. We believe this investigation cannot take forever. And it is not a rocket science to establish the liability, who is actually behind those stolen 53 containers.
Dagoretti South MP John Carey requested the committee to undertake an inquiry and report on the status of products seized by the multi-agency team. The Dagoretti South Constituency Legislature further stated that they need clarifications from the multi-agency team who were involved in the overseeing the exercise of the condemned edible oil.
The first thing that is a big concern for the public is if this foodstuff has left a bonded warehouse, where did it end up? Because chances are it ended up on your table and you're consuming poison.
The committee is in Mombasa to undertake physical inspection visits to about 8 CFA storage facilities to ascertain the status of the seized goods.
This investigation is revealing that there has been criminal activities happening at this CFS. Then I do reiterate what the chairman is saying, that this is actually a sin that should be taken up as a sin of crime and treated as such.
Poor sanitation costs the country more than 27 billion shillings every year, according to research. According to the Water and Sanitation Program, this is the equivalent of 800 shillings per person in Kenya per year, or 0.9% of the national GDP. Stakeholders are now urging the government to upscale the rollout of water and sanitation programs in the country to avert the health risks posed by poor sanitation.
Recent data from the Ministry of Health shows Kenya has a major open defecation problem, largely in rural and informal settlements. The ministry says 4.5 million Kenyans practice open defecation. Rekit Kenya country manager Asif Hashimi said the lack of safe toilets in communities threatens everyone's health due to contamination of drinking water sources and food crops, spreading deadly diseases among the wider population. As Kenya joins the world in marking World Toilet Day, which is celebrated on the 19th of November every year, Hashini says there is an urgent need to prioritize programs that seek to address sanitation issues. According to the United Nations, half of the global population do not have toilets, while at least 2 billion people use a drinking water source contaminated with feces. Hashini says educating communities on the need for proper sanitation is key to dealing with waterborne diseases. Betty Kiptum, Prime Edition.
Now, poor investment decisions, lack of research, bad partnerships, ineffective marketing and inadequate technical and professional expertise are some of the factors that lead to the collapse of startups within 5 years of their existence. To remedy this, micro, small and medium enterprises are leveraging on business incubation strategies for their survival. Our reporter Regina Manyara was in Kariobangi Biashara Incubation Hub and takes us through what business incubation entails.
Research indicates that 21.5% of startups fail in the first year, with the majority collapsing by the 5th year. However, there is reprieve with the adoption of business incubation models that cushion startups by providing workspaces, training on bookkeeping, market access, and professional services.
We have SMEs who are here, they are registered with us, and once you come inside here, you find there are several services that we provide. We have the motor vehicle fabrication, we have innovation and incubation center for the MSCs, and we also have the business development services that I'm talking about. And the business development services are actually provided for by most of the agencies who are here under the Biashara Center. We call it a hub.
The Kariobangi Biashara Hub is one such pioneer facility open to MSMEs seeking to start their franchise.
Nimekuwa kwa hii uwanja ya Msea Kariobangi kwa miaka 5, na hii uwanja inasaidia sana wanyabiashara wadogo kama mimi kwa kuwapea space ya kazi, na kuna training wanaofa kwa digital training ya computer, hata ya kazi yenyewe wanaofa.
As an incubator, it supports emerging businesses with several services such as assistance in building management teams, developing business and marketing plans, funds professional services, shares equipment, as well as access to government agencies like the Kenya Revenue Authority and the Kenya Bureau of Standards.
If it's a new business and they want to have a new product, we have the KBC guy here. They can tell them how to get the product to a standard level. We have the KRA, we help them to get the PIN certificates. We have the KIPI, we can help them to copyright their ideas. We have KIE, we can help them get funds. We have MSEA, we can offer business support. So there are many agencies involved here to help the SME grow.
How does one qualify for incubation?
It depends on what business you're having, because as you can see here, we usually have a lot of industrial works. So it depends. If it's something that is flammable, no, but other agencies can house you also.
After the vetting, the startup benefits from the facility's amenities, including space and access to electricity, for a period of 2 years.
How long does it take one to be incubated here? 1 year is just for you to work around your business and to see how to go about it. The next year, then we assist you in terms of market linkage and access. Once you're now full blown and you're able to stand on your own, then we let you go and fly away.
Would you say that the center has met its objective?
We can say we have met our target because our customers are happy, they come, and we have even over subscription.
So far, over 1,200 traders have gone through the center.
Space ya kufanya kazi yenye iko secure kama hii huku nje hakuna. Kuna sehemu ukiacha gari huwezi acha gari ya mtu kama hii, ama mtu hawezi kutrust ufanye kazi kama hii kama amerelax. Lakini vile tulipata hii uwanja na iko secure, hatusumbuana na customer, hata customer akona furaha, gari yao iko safe, malipo hapa ni mzuri, unaona iko ile favorable itufinyi.
Availability of power, water, security and secure infrastructure, yes, I definitely recommend.
Plans are underway to expand and operationalize the Biashara incubation hubs across the country.
Yeah, that is the way to go, because remember we are looking into manufacturing as a pillar for the economy. Remember, with manufacturing, then it comes the other services that you come with it, because we manufacture for the market, and therefore they cannot all come to Kariobangi, they will not all go to Nairobi, so we need to have them decentralized to these regions.
If you've been thinking to start up a business, well, you need to take advantage of this facility. I'm Regina Manyara, you're watching KBC Channel 1.
Thank you, Regina, for that detailed report on business incubation. Now, moving on now, Cooperative Bank Group has reported a 20% growth in profit before tax from 13.8 billion shillings recorded in the third quarter of 2020 to 16.5 billion shillings for the third quarter this year. Credit management remains a key focus area aimed at supporting a return to pre-pandemic non-performing loans levels, with loan loss provisions increased to 6 billion shillings in the third quarter of the year 2021.
Coop Bank Group's total assets grew by 82 billion shillings to 592.9 billion shillings compared to 510.9 billion shillings in the same period last year. Net loans and advances grew by 22.1 billion shillings from 284.2 billion shillings to 306.3 billion shillings. Customer deposits grew from 375.5 billion shillings to 420.4 billion shillings. Borrowed funds grew by 17.7 billion shillings to 43.8 billion shillings from 26.2 billion shillings in 2020. The group increased loan loss provisions to 6.0 billion in the third quarter of year 2021 in appreciation of challenges that businesses and households continue to face due to the effects of the ongoing pandemic. A total of 49 billion shillings in loans were restructured during the CBK restructure window, with the restructured facilities largely performing as per the realignment agreements. The bank has successfully moved 93% of all customer transactions to alternative delivery channels. Key focus on digital banking led to the growth of non-funded income, with 5.3 million customers registered and loans worth 51.3 billion shillings dispersed year to date, averaging 5.7 billion shillings per month. Reporting for Prime Edition, I am Teresa Mutai.
Now, Kenya will take the lion's share of the East African Community budget following the review of the financing model by the bloc. The new model requires EAC partner states to contribute equally 65% of the budget, while the remaining 35% of the total budget will be contributed based on the assessment of partner states. Average nominal GDP per capita for the previous 5 years as assessed by the World Bank. Betty Kiptum looks at the implication of this new system.
The East African Community budget for the fiscal year 2021-2022 stands at almost 10 billion Kenya shillings. This budget is supposed to fund the operations of the EAC organs and institutions. This is allocated to the EAC organs and institutions, including EAC Secretariat 4.38 billion shillings, East African Legislative Assembly 1.55 billion shillings, East African Court of Justice 380 million shillings, Lake Victoria Basin Commission 817 million shillings, East African Science and Technology Commission 160 million shillings, East Africa Kiswahili Commission 130 million shillings, East Africa Health Research Commission 190 million shillings, the East African Competition Authority 100 million shillings, Inter-University Council for East Africa 1.12 billion shillings, and Lake Victoria Fisheries Organization 360 million shillings. The new financing model positions Kenya as the top contributor to the bloc. Kenya has the biggest economy in the regional trade bloc with a GDP of more than 11 trillion shillings, followed by Tanzania at 5.8 trillion shillings and Uganda at 3.5 trillion shillings. The agreement on the new model came after the findings of a study on the required reforms to align the EAC structure, programs and activities with the financial resources available from the EAC partner states in order to ensure the sustainability of the community while addressing the dependency syndrome. The hybrid model will be reviewed after 3 years of its implementation. The EAC is also to implement cost-cutting measures to seal loopholes and deal with duplication and wastage. Betty Kiptum, Prime Edition.
Now, Kenya's technological ecosystem has a major gender gap problem. Gender diversity is a major problem, with the sector being dominated by men. However, despite this yawning gender gaps, some female tech professionals continue to impact the industry remarkably. Tonight on Tech One, Alan Aoko looks at what it takes to become a female technopreneur and the pitfalls and also the opportunities.
If Even as the country warms up to women in technology, of course, there are some of those who take it because it's thrilling, it's exciting, it's challenging. For example, Android engineering. According to the Ministry of ICT and Innovation, women are underrepresented in ICT jobs and top management and academic careers. The report further shows that men are 4 times more likely than women to be ICT specialists. The report also shows only 0.5% of girls aspire to become ICT professionals, compared to 5% of boys.
Definitely the minority of just being a woman in tech. You get to join companies and you're the only lady in the department, and you always tend to feel outnumbered.
Meet Hannah Olukoye, an Android engineer with Andela, a North American-based company that supplies global organizations with skilled software developers. She reveals to us what it takes to be an Android engineer in Kenya's male-dominated tech sector.
So as an Android engineer, generally you work on mobile applications for Android, right? So there's an aspect where you can be working on the front-facing side of the app, where like now the users get to see the different screens, the users get to play around with like, what does this button do? So that's mostly, it's called UI, user interface. Then there's the back-end bit of it, which is still Android development, where now you're integrating to APIs. APIs are now like a network calls that integrate to like servers, the database, all that. And then now I think there's also there's the monitoring side of it, but that's still just a tiny section of it.
Mobile technology is one of the fastest growing, most important sectors in Kenya's tech industry. However, its growth has come with underlying challenges, especially for women in tech.
Especially before, women would feel like, okay, maybe this is too technical, this is too technical, or wouldn't make sense for me as a woman, but I'm slowly seeing that narrative being changed.
When it comes to Android engineering as a profession, it means one has to learn how to become a multiplier by enabling other engineers to do their best work. Hannah says she is in the perfect position to make that happen for the wider Android community in Kenya.
You can be a mobile engineer and still do iOS development, so you call yourself an iOS engineer. And so in Android as well, there's also many other aspects in it. You can say you're using like frameworks to develop Android applications. And now for me especially, I just use a native programming language for Android.
Having worked on several things that make clients' codebase better and safer, including reducing build times, she says that that's not all for her. But how about a budding young girl looking to replicate the same?
Right now, I actually do mentorship. I volunteer as a mentor, and also I have mentors who I see, because I've seen the effect that it has for the women in tech. Because just knowing that there's someone out there who's able to guide you or give you just a few tips just to be able to navigate your way, it's quite helpful. And I would say to any young person or even older person who's looking to join this field, it's quite possible. Look for a mentor.
Hannah says she has constituted significant development in technology while simultaneously inspiring young girls to do the same. She says through funding, training, leadership and innovation, women in technology will also become synonymous with groundbreaking tech innovations and transformations that have opened to the global community. Alan Auko for Take One.
Unafanyaga Ronaldo pia wewe. Unadondoka mwana kakana.
Ni game ya mwisho, multibet ingiane ama ichomeke. Swali ni utadondoka.
Kati mkana melizwa, shukisha.
Dondoka visimpo na Odibets cash out.
One thing that I do know is my brother's gonna have my back and he's gonna honor his word. We got Tom Lawler's back, we've proved it. When with low key, we just hope that he honors his word and we know that we're gonna give it everything we have.
While I don't fully trust low key, we have a common enemy, Contra.
At the War Chamber, my brother and I, and Tom and low key, we're going to war.
Oh, good evening. I'm Richard Munga with the day's sports. On to a top story today, whereby Boxing Federation of Kenya successfully held the second day of the inaugural Jamal's Cup tournament on 18th November, that is today, at Charter Hall, Nairobi. Meanwhile, consultative meetings between Athletics Kenya and athletes all over the country continue today in Nakuru County, with stakeholders urging for more emphasis on developing young athletes.
A total of 40 bouts were on card this afternoon as Jamal Cup boxing tournament entered day 2 at Charter Hall, Nairobi. 36 pugilists took part in the ring during the preliminary bouts held on Wednesday. In some bouts, 2015 African Championship gold medalist Nico Koth defeated Reagan Odindo. Victor Odhiambo humbled Dan Omondi. Anthony Maina saw off Mohamed Abeid, while Francis Riziki trounced Washington Wandera. The tournament has attracted 122 pugilists, both men and women, drawn from 26 clubs across the country. Meanwhile, athletic stakeholders at today's consultative forum in Kerigate, Nakuru, have asked Athletics Kenya to establish mentorship programs involving retired and young athletes. Former Commonwealth Games 3,000 meter steeplechase champions Richard Matelong urged young athletes to always listen to their seniors and receptive to advice on matters to do with sport and social welfare.
Shirika la riadha la Kenya wamefikiria jambo la maana kuleta hizi mikutano mashinani ili waweze kupata ama kujua shida ambazo wanariadha wanapitia.
Tungeomba tu watu wa AK kama wange tusaidia na kitu kidogo, tuseme gari ama pesa ama accommodation huko, tungeshukuru sana.
The second cluster of the consultative meetings ended in Kerigate, with the third one kicking off on Monday, with athletes expected to converge in Eldama Ravine, Baringo County. Daniel Mwendwa, Sports.
Meanwhile, Ruiru Golf Club will become the latest venue to host the 2021 NCBA Golf Series, marking the 22nd and penultimate leg in the series calendar, which teed off in January this year. Meanwhile, Kenya Breweries Limited KBL has announced the return of the Johnny Walker Classic Golf Series. The series, dubbed Road to Glen Eagles, will traverse 20 golf clubs across the country, culminating in the grand finale, which will be played at the end of the tournament in May 2022. 200 golfers have been drawn to battle it out at the Pass Event 2 course for a chance to secure the remaining 5 slots available for play at the series grand finale, which will be held next month at the Karen Country Club. A total of 100 golfers, comprising of the top 5 finishers from each of the 20 senior golf events held in the calendar, have so far qualified to play at the grand finale. Of the 100, 3 will be junior golfers who emerged overall winners at their respective club events at Karen, Limuru and Royal Golf Clubs. NCBA has encouraged junior golfers to be part of its seniors events and has held junior golf series that brought together 85 juniors for a 2-day contest at the Karen Country Club in August this year. The top 43 finishers were picked to participate at the Rome Classic Golf event in October and at the Big 5 tournament in South Africa next year. Elsewhere, the Classic Golf Series returns this weekend, with the series consisting of 18 qualification rounds across participating clubs, where 216 golfers will qualify to play in the later stages of the event. Additionally, the series will incorporate professional golfers for the first time in the competition, with the aim being to provide them with a much-needed exposure and improved competitiveness in the lead-up to the main event, that is the Magical Kenya Open and the Kenya Savannah Classic.
The amateurs will be able to hone some skills from the pros that they'll be playing with, and then eventually the amateurs will also attend the finals in Scotland.
VetLab Sports Club will have the privilege of hosting the opening round of the new series on November 20th, which will then move to Thika Greens Golf Club on the 27th of November. Also, the national women's netball team are back in the country after taking part in the African Netball Challenge in Windhoek, Namibia. Kenya finished 7th, with South Africa's Proteas winning the final 65-39 against host Namibia. The Proteas are yet to lose a match in the tournament since 2019.
The national netball team lost all its 4 matches in the competition, but finished ahead of Botswana and Tanzania, who took the 8th and 9th positions respectively. In the first match, they suffered a 55-34 loss to Malawi, followed by a 77-28 loss to Uganda. They later lost 50-42 to Zambia, and in their last match, Kenya lost 56-46 to Zimbabwe. Speaking after jetting back, the team's coach Joseph Makau hailed the team's performance and assured that the team will now work extra after the experience they gained in the competition.
Kwenye pen series tuliweza kupoteza mechi zote, lakini tuliandikisha matokeo bora, kwani timu zote kubwa zilizokuwa pale ziliweza kujua kweli tumekuja kushiriki. Baada ya siku 4 tulienda Africa Cup na tulijizatiti sana, tukapata ushindi wa timu 2 ambayo imetuongezea point nyingi sana, na tutaendelea kuomba serikali itusaidie ili tucheze mechi nyingi kabla ya Januari 31 ambapo timu point zenye tumepata zitaweza kujumuishwa ili tujue kama tumeweza kupata points za kutuwezesha kwenda Commonwealth.
His words were echoed by the Kenya Netball Federation President Immaculate Kabuthia, who promised that Kenya will do well in the upcoming event.
The history of netball in this country, we have never beaten any country. We have never gone for any other major event, international event, like we did.
We as African Netball have decided that on the 2023 Netball Legacy, the World Cup that will be held in South Africa from the 28th to the 6th of August in Cape Town, we will, on our legacy, give Kenya a wooden floor.
On a positive note, Kenya received a wooden floor to help them improve in their training. Daniel Mwendwa, Sports.
Now to other matters. South African Football Association President Danny Jordan has stated that there was a clear pattern of match manipulation which may be linked to gambling during South Africa's 2022 World Cup qualifier against Ghana last Sunday, which saw South Africa concede through a controversial penalty and lost the game by 1-0.
Speaking at a press conference on Wednesday, Jordan claimed the protest included allegation of match fixing and manipulation, including corruption and bribery, which may be linked to gambling.
Okay, that we can prove against our team. 2, we have to resist and expose such bias. And thirdly, is to report it to FIFA. Any match manipulation involving our national teams or FIFA competitions.
Ghana, who beat Bafana Bafana by 1-0 on Sunday in the crucial qualifier, saw the Black Stars advance to Africa's playoff for the tournament, but South African Football Association has however filed a complaint to FIFA about the match and the world governing body in a letter dated 17th November 2021. South African Football Association said the protest will be submitted to members of its disciplinary committee on 23rd November 2021 for consideration.
What we have done here is not to look at just the correctness or otherwise of a referee's decision. and its particular influence on the outcome of the match.
The Ghana Football Association has, however, dismissed any match-fixing allegation and has been asked for its observations on the matter.
Stays this way, then Ghana will top the group.
Well, that's all the time we have for sports tonight. But before I leave, just an update. The CAF, the inaugural CAF Champions League, of course, on the women's side, the third place playoff just ended 2 minutes ago. And Asfar Club of Morocco have beaten Malabo Kings of Equatorial Guinea 3-1, of course, to win the third place in the tournament. As we'll remember, tomorrow we have Hasakas taking on South Africa's Mamelodi Sundowns in the final of the CAF Women's Champions League. And KBC sister station Y254 will be bringing you that match live at 8 p.m. At night, so we shall be giving you all the updates in regard to that. Well, that does it for me, but don't go too far. Cynthia and Nyamai is on the other side of the studio, but for me, have a good night.
Thank you, Munga. And for more updates, you can have a look at our website, kbcchannel1.com. And from me and the rest of us here in studio and transmission, we wish you a good night.